In 2001, in the UK, in Hampshire, there's a Chilbolton radio tower that had a crop circle appear next to it that looked like a person's face overnight. It was kind of like all etched in, and then the face was left standing out. And next to that was a picture of a gray holding a disc that had a message written on it in binary code. And we depicted it. At first, they weren't sure what to think of it. They thought it was some mathematical design. But then they started taking the rows, because it's shaped like a bullseye, where it's got layers and layers and layers going inward. So they just took those layers and they put break in it, and they just wrote it out like text. So the crop circle with the gray on it, holding up the disk that has binary code written all around it in circles that was broken up into pieces, so that way it formed up lines so that way they could read it, basically was deciphered as, "Beware the bearers of false gifts and their broken promises. Much pain but still time. Believe there is good out there. We oppose deception. Conduit closing." Now the term, "beware the bearers of false gifts and their broken promises." Think about all of this terrorism going on in the world. The underlying war tactics that are now focused on intel. Because of all our secret strike forces and secret gatherings and organizations all fighting each other, something amazing happened. America killed Osama bin Laden. And because of this, now the whole world is going to start changing their entire tactics. And possibly, threats will be going up to a nuclear level, where worlds will start to threaten each other with nuclear disaster because they cannot overcome each other's intelligence. I don't mean intelligence like brain power. I mean like a word, telecommunications, intelligence, that kind of intelligence, war tactic intelligence. This hieroglyphic this crop circle was put here way back in 2001. So for a long time, it has been known about our presidents just being like a figurehead and really just giving out a lot of false gifts and promises. And not really getting anything that we truly want, that we're ending up having to get everything for ourselves. Anything that the people want, the people have to go get. While the military goes off and fights each other and kills each other. And everybody just lives their lives. All the innocent people are completely uninvolved because we are bewaring of the false gifts and broken promises. We've completely disbanded it all from our leaders. Much pain, but still time. That is referring to something else entirely. That is referring to the individuals. That is referring to all the darkness in the world from technology, all the discoveries and paranoia. People don't know what to believe anymore. There's people out there writing down, they're making entire websites focused around reptilians that are supposedly going around eating people and controlling our systems and turning people into mind slaves and controlling the grays, but that's all false. That's all based off of inquiry. Those are people who aren't even contactees. All they do is they sit around thinking of ways that they could try to put a foothold in the disclosure movement. Because every government has agents that do something as simple as documenting like one specific type of information, or something as specific as making websites that falsify information. It's so easy to falsify a UFO these days. All everybody has to do is make a similar video of a fake UFO, and then say, "Hey, look how fake it is. That's the UFO that they saw that one day." They just put the same title down, and everybody will say, "Oh my God," They take the footage in the same position as the original UFO or whatever, and they digitally put in a fake one, and then they say it's a fake, when it really did happen. But it's just that easy, because as soon as people hear that, okay, there's all these fakes out there, it's definitely fake, then they automatically think, okay, nobody's telling the truth. So there's a lot of small jobs like this, and that's why there's so much pain, because technology's getting away from us. All that we've discovered, it's making things, it's running away with us. But there's still a lot of time. There's still a lot of love, and believe that there is good out there. That could either be referring to us or them. I feel like it's about them because the first 3 parts were about us. Now there's going to be 3 parts about them. So believe that there's good out there. They're referring to themselves. They'll help us, and they'll guide us when the time is right. They'll come down if they have to, because eventually we're going to have to communicate with them as we become more and more intelligent anyways, because they're above a Type 0 society, and once you get above Type 0, you're in a whole new world. You're no longer an Earthling. So eventually when we move up from wild animals, that's what will happen. And we oppose deception. That's also about themselves. They oppose deception. They want to guide us. They want to help us figure out what's best for ourselves, because they believe in love. They love, 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 love. There's a lot of movies being made, like Fire in the Sky, where they depict abductions as horrible, horrific experiences where the Greys are evil creatures that stick giant spinning needles into people's eyeballs. And although it may be based on a true story, it's not nearly as frightening or horrific as they make it seem. The abductions aren't as dangerous. A lot of the incisions they make are very minuscule and painless. You don't feel a thing, according to every abductee I've ever heard of. You don't feel a thing. They do stick a needle in your ball sack, or stick a needle in your stomach, but it's all so quick and you really don't feel it. The only reason why the little Greys are so frightening is because those hybrids, as depicted by a guy who had been abducted, those hybrids, they're a bit more of us in them, so of course they're a little scary because we rely on fear tactics. So that's how they use the little ones to get us, because the little ones, the hybrids, are the ones that know about how we feel about fear and how they can use it to just get the people in the ship. While the much taller ones, the main race themselves, the pure breeds, are always depicted as just oozing like great love. Like you feel like whenever you're around them, like you're around a mother or a father, and it's just like a family, like love feeling, like it's just like you want to be around them and you want to learn from them and you want to hug them, and you can't help but feel like you love them as soon as you meet them. That's what the real Greys are all about. The hybrids are the ones that are depicted as being evil and mean because they're part of us. So, yeah, they are willing to go the extra mile. But it's never as frightening. It's only as frightening as you make it. You know, when they drag you up to a room and put you down, it's not like they're slamming you down. You're the one who's freaking out. If you just took a couple breaths, it wouldn't be so terrible. Some abductees have been enrolled in their programs, and their programs involved just teaching, just trying to get them to get the people to comply with the Greys, do as the Greys say, and they always fought back. But one of the abductees, Jim Sparks, when he finally opened up to them, he started to learn a lot, and he really became friends with them, rather than fighting back. And that's just what they wanted. They'll get what they want. You might as well just let it go. Because you only make it you're the one making it horrific. You're the one making it a bad experience. It's up to you to make it good. So they oppose deception. That's very clear. They do oppose deception. They don't want to be the bad guys. That's why they have the hybrids. The hybrids do what's necessary. They might make themselves seem scary, but that's just to get you in the ship. Once you're in the ship, they're nice to you. They oppose deception because they themselves, the actual Greys, they don't rely on fear tactics. They just want to be happy, and they want to make you happy, and they're just trying to figure out ways to stop us from destroying this entire environment. It is not time for this environment to be destroyed. It is a godly planet. Although they are now, and we are now discovering that there are several planets out there that aren't even part of solar systems. Planets that have gravitational pull and an atmosphere that do not fall around a star. And they're saying that for every star out there, there are probably 2 more of these kind of planets. Meaning that there are more planets out there than there are stars. They are, in fact, planets that escaped their sun's gravity and just float around all on their own. They figured in the Milky Way galaxy there's 200 billion of them. And in the universe, who knows? That means that there's 1 billion stars in our galaxy. I'm sorry. 100 billion stars in our galaxy, not one. And there's 200 billion of the planets. And the term conduit closing means that a conduit is an electrical outfit. So conduit closing means this electrical outfit is closing. This way of life is closing. Us back engineering all their stuff is closing. We're going to have to start figuring out for ourselves the relation between our spiritual bodies and physics. That technology is not only limited to physics, but it can also involve the brain. The brain itself is the connection between us and our spiritual selves. And we're going to start focusing more on that technology, because it is that technology that is much more powerful than anything else. We can start focusing on cleaner methods, and we can learn about how this planet has been saved several times by a moon that is completely destroyed. It's a home base, and yet nobody notices it. Out of all the stars in our galaxy, our moon is the most destroyed. It has the most holes on it. It has taken the most battle damage. It is like a big turret sitting out in front of our planet that we never even knew about. And it's been sitting there defending us all this time. The Greys have been defending us all this time. Doing things for us that we still don't even know about and we can't even imagine. But when the time comes, they'll tell us. And how do I know this? Monks. Abductees, spiritual guide contactees, people involved in disclosure. We're making a major movement. Deception has caused a loss of love between ourselves and our family. We are all family. But we do not love and believe in ourselves, and we do not believe that our brains are capable of being a godly figure. So therefore we don't find ourselves to be gods, the gods that we are. So now I want you to comment and tell me what you think the meaning behind this crop circle is. What do you think that they meant by beware the bearers of false gifts and their broken promises? Much pain, but still time. Believe there is good out there. We oppose deception. Conduit closing. Thank you. Well, we send out a transmission that we were just trying to get a point across of our technology of what we can do. We sent out a relay of data telling our height, the main element on our planet, our numbering system, what planet we own, our height, our population, and our main type of telescope, like radio telescope system. And we just sent it out in space just to make sure that we can do it. We weren't really trying to contact anybody. We were just trying to see if we could send the information out and if it would be successful. It was basically testing the equipment. And we just set up a situation, we send it out. That's what they call it. For all we know, maybe they were. Because to have something with that many specific qualities about a race and to call it a test, you kind of have to be a little, it sounds a little more like they're playing and seeing what would happen. But they got an answer back. And the crop circle that came back was basically depicting everything that we sent them, only with their information. And it was basically telling, here, let me pull it up for you. And what came back in there, crop circle stated their number system, same as ours. Their main element was silicon. Unlike our DNA, they have an extra strand, and there's a different number of nucleotides there. Their height is around 5 feet, some lower, some higher. Their heads are quite a bit larger than our own. It states that the population is 21.3 billion inhabitants. And the thing about the brain that I noticed is, when it comes to humans in ratio with our species, we have the largest brains on this planet in comparison to our body mass. It's about 10% higher than any other animal on this planet. And theirs is they only have about 10% body other than their brain. they have to be beyond a type 1 society. They have to be at least a type 2. And they have planets, third, fourth, and fifth are inhabited. 21.3 billion. I mean, we only have, what, like 4 or 5 billion people? They easily outnumber us. And a lot of their population comes from, well, their main species is its own. But here on Earth, they have a second species that they use as workers. Any abductee that has been enrolled in their programs for long enough or has been abducted enough times knows that there is a face value, a figurehead, and, well, not figurehead, but there's a worker bee and the main sergeant. The main sergeant's a completely different species. And I'll post up a link later for this one guy who can pretty much confirm that the smaller ones are hybrids. Because what they did was they were extracting his semen, as they always do with every abduction. But this time, when he was abducted later in his life, like he was abducted several times throughout his life, and they're all horrific. I mean, they had to put him into meditative states just to get it out of him. And when they did, hypnotic, and he was screaming. I mean, they're just horrific to him. They're all just horrible, you know. But he was saying how, like, the Greys, the main ones, would come up to him, and they pointed over to the small ones in the corner, and they said, that's your child right there. And the child comes up, and it's one of the shorter Greys, but it's just like a little baby, but it's still got the big head, and it's just a lot smaller. And touches his hand, and then the other ones follow by, and he knew that when they touched his hand too, he knew that they were also his children. That the Greys were making hybrids as workers, because it was once written that the Anunnaki created man as workers to mine gold, and, you know, Anunnaki was simply just a terminology for Nordics, blonde hair, blue eyes, tall people. It was basically another race of humans that made us, and the Greys came along and took over after they left and they got their gold that they wanted. And it's the Greys that created all humans. They overseed everything. And because those people were human as well, that's the main reason why some of the Anunnaki are considered evil and cannibals and monsters that would eat each other, eat people, and they had to make sacrifices to the Anunnaki to keep their people from getting eaten. That was just part of life. But anyways, I'm going off track here. One of the last things was the type of radio telescope that they use is much more complex than ours. Ours is just a simple big reflector, basically. And theirs is a big integrated system that has all kinds of spawns of different transmitters, so it seems like. And with this information, it's proof that now we have communication with the Greys. We have a lot of different crop circles that tell us a lot of interesting scientific things that we wouldn't have known if we didn't decipher the crop circle. And a lot of people don't know about it because it's new information and it's still on the precipice of being accurate. I mean, this kind of stuff is popular. All the stuff that was written in binary code, because binary code is easy to depict. But with this other stuff, where we're trying to figure out based on figures, and it's not entirely clear on what's the real focus of it. It's kind of hard to figure out what's the meaning behind it, because there's some that they can figure out. Okay, they want us to look at this figure and combine these two because of this, that, and the other thing. And when you combine them, you got the tetrahedron with the sphere inside of it that can represent all the building blocks of life being surrounded by everything being equal, and from a center core where everything is greater, and as it expands out, it becomes more and more bigger and more complex. But it is still from the same source, and the triangle is just a building block of it. And then there's different ones where they have like spirals coming off the edge of the triangle itself, and they don't know what that means. They know that the figure itself, a triangle and a circle combined, is supposed to be, to these Greys, the ultimate figure